A couple of weeks ago, I reviewed the Mcintosh C49 2-channel preamplifier. This review is going to be pretty similar. It has the same structure. First, I'm going to give it a side score, then I'm going to give it a sound score. And overall, I'm going to give this unit an audio score, my personal audio score. I call it the Audioscore Sight and Sound Score. I bought this MC452 at Hi-Fi Audio in Düsseldorf. Like I said in my other review of the C49, if you ever have the chance to check out Hi-Fi Audio equipment in Düsseldorf, please check out Hi-Fi Audio or go to their website hifiaudio.de. If you would like to know more about this review, please check out my blog on my website audioscaleurs.com. This review is similar to the review of the C49. First, I'm going to give the MC452 a side score, then I'm going to give it a sound score, and then I'm going to give it the Audioscore Sight and Sound Score. Kicking off with the first category under sight, convenience, the Mcintosh MC452 is really easy to use. But it is fairly heavy, coming in at around 50 kilograms. You cannot lift it with one person, but it has these bars, which makes it a little bit easier to move it around. The Mcintosh MC452 has a 2 ohm, a 4 ohm and an 8 ohm tap. You can connect it to the Mcintosh preamplifiers so that it automatically turns on and off, and it is generally pretty easy to use. However, because of its weight, it is also somewhat inconvenient. Therefore, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 for convenience. The Mcintosh MC452 is a beautiful 2-channel power amplifier. For me, it is pretty hard to imagine a more beautiful device. It takes all the qualities from the C49 and other Mcintosh components a little step further, because you also have those unique metal bars which make it feel very sturdy. And you have those 2 brilliant meters that show you the current power output. On top of that, the MC452 has a very simple layout with those 2 buttons and these beautiful, nice looking silver bars on the side. Overall, I'm going to give the 452 a 9 out of 10 for looks and styling. Next up is build quality, and you can really see that the MC452 is handmade. Coming in at 50 kilograms with these beautiful bars, it is really well built. However, if you compare it to the 462 and their newest products, or to some exotics that are of course then also even more expensive than the 452, there is still room for improvement at Mcintosh. Therefore, the MC452 gets an 8 out of 10 for build quality. Let's talk about the features of the MC452. The 452 has a quad balanced design. What it essentially means is that the power amplifier is fully balanced from input to output. Mcintosh does that by essentially using 4 power amplifiers that are running against each other, 2 per channel. This eliminates almost all distortion. On top of that, the MC452 has autoformers, which makes it very potent towards any speaker and any load. Of course, the MC452 can be integrated into all sorts of stereo systems. It can be triggered by the 3.5mm input jack, and it can be connected through RCA or through balanced inputs. A very unique feature in the MC452 is the Mcintosh patented power guard design. What it essentially does is it measures the input signal and it measures the output signal. Then it compares the two. Then if the Mcintosh amplifier starts to distort, it drives the input gain down in order to stop that distortion at 1% THD. This makes sure that you cannot overrun the amplifier and that you cannot blow your speakers. Overall, the Mcintosh MC452 has a lot of features, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Summing up the side score, the Mcintosh is a beautiful 2-channel power amplifier. As I said earlier, for me it's hard to imagine a more beautiful power amplifier. It is well built, it has a lot of features, it has a lot of power, but it is very inconvenient. You cannot move it around. But the question comes up, who buys a $10,000 two-channel power amplifier to move it around the house? Therefore, I'm going to give this 452 a 28 out of 40 for the side score. Moving over to audio excellence and specifications. The 452 used to be the top-of-the-line Mcintosh two-channel power amplifier, and the specifications represent that. With a signal-to-noise ratio of more than 122 dBs and a total harmonic distortion of 0.005% at rated power, there's really nothing to complain about. The rated power is 450 watts per channel, but we have measured more than 600 watts peak. These numbers show that the MC452 used to be Mcintosh's top-of-the-line stereo power amplifier. Therefore, it earns a 9 out of 10 for audio excellence and specifications, because it is just shy of the very, very best. But really, again, nothing to complain about. This power amplifier is dead quiet from input to output. Moving over to detail. And this is a Mcintosh power amplifier. Detail is not its biggest strength. However, it is also not a weakness. The 452 brings out all the detail in all the sound. However, it doesn't highlight it as much as some other competitors in that price range do. Mcintosh does this on purpose, and I would say it's not a bad thing. But looking at detail alone, being quad balanced from input to output, I would give the MC452 an 8 out of 10. But again, there's nothing to complain about when it comes to detail. For imaging and soundstage, I'm also giving the 452 an 8 out of 10. Same as for detail. And I give it because of the following reason. If you compare the 452 to the 302, which is the little brother, which is also not balanced from input to output, I don't think you will hear a lot of differences up until 30 watts per channel. Generally, this soundstage is very wide. It really points out all the instruments in the room. And generally, the Mcintosh power amplifier sound has become very airy and clean over the years. But that accounts for the 302 and also for the 452. The differences come up when you go above 30 watts per channel, when you really push your speakers hard and when you really put some load on your power amplifier. The MC452 brings that same soundstage, that same detail, even at 450 watts per channel. And in comparison to the little brother, the soundstage, at least in my use cases, never fell apart. It doesn't matter how loud you play your music, Diana Krall or Elvis, they will be standing right in front of you in the middle of your speakers. Therefore, it earns the 8 out of 10 for soundstage and imaging. Next up is bass, and with more than 450 watts per channel, even 600 watts per channel continuous, both channels operating, I think there's nothing more you might need in a regular home. And of course that impacts bass performance. Overall, I would say the Mcintosh sound signature in bass has changed over the last 20-25 years. And the 452 is extremely fast, extremely punchy. And again, also the bass has that airiness to it that I described in the imaging. Therefore, with 600 watts per channel, I'm giving the 452 a 9 out of 10 for bass, knowing that this is a very high score. Just being in that category of a two-channel power amplifier, I cannot imagine much more. The last category under sound is synergy. And for me, that is the most important category because it describes the overall sound of the device. I generally like the sound of Mcintosh devices and I think they work very well together. The MC452 is no exception. The 452 mostly disappears in any kind of sound system, and I think this is the highest attribute I can give a power amplifier. Overall, I'm giving the MC452 an 8 out of 10 for synergy. For sound quality, the MC452 earns a 42 out of 50. Moving over to value, and I think the MC452 brings a great value, and I think it should last a lifetime. Those units usually don't break, and new you had to pay a fortune to get them. Coming in at around 8,000 US dollars new and more than 12,000 euros on the European market, it really was an expensive device. Now you can find it on the used market in excellent condition for around 5,000 US dollars. And that is a great value. Therefore, I'm giving the 452 a current value of 8 out of 10. Add it all up, and the ASSS score for the MC452 is 78 out of 100. That is a huge number, and that is also the reason why I currently own this device. A couple of years ago you had to pay a fortune to own this amplifier new. You can now find it on the used market for an exceptional price. Therefore, the 78 out of 100 is well deserved. The MC452 sounds amazing. It looks great, it is well built, and there's really nothing to complain about.